just keep going, keep doing the best you can, regardless of what job you have now. Mm-hmm. Do it the best you can.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. This is episode 200 and something. I forget exactly what episode it is, but joining me today is a man that has his hands full in a lot of different areas of life. But Chad Dennis, welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast.
Thanks, Cole. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'll let you give a background on yourself, but you have your hands kind of dipped in a lot of different things, and you balance a lot of things in life, so which I'm kind of excited to get into. But kind of give the Roughnecks listeners just kind of a general idea of who you are.
Yeah, well, like you said, Chad Dennis, and local guy. Grew up here in Licking County. Went to Licking Valley High School and moved away for a few years right after college, but came back to start my family. Married. I've been married 30 years. Actually, this April was our 30th anniversary. Got 3 kids, 2 boys that are 26 years old, twins. A daughter that's 15. Boys played college baseball, one at Youngstown and one at Northern Kentucky. Now they're both coaching in the collegiate game. And now we're just chasing the little one around. She keeps us busier than both the boys did, that's for sure.
That's how I was. I was the youngest of my family, and I was the one that was in everything and had to do everything. So, yeah, my parents probably loved that, especially I'm 16 years younger than my oldest sister. So by the time they got to me, they're like, can we just be done? Like, we're ready to, like, now, since I've moved out, it's funny because Sierra tries to give me back is what she says. Like, Terry, I'll move him back in. She's like, no, he's your problem now. We've been without kids. We had kids in the house for over 30 years. It's your time. So
yeah, you take care of them. No, yeah, she keeps us young. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. She's special. We adopted her when she was 2 years old, and the boys were 11, and it was a big change. And she's been a huge blessing on our family, bigger blessing to us than we have for her. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're a coach, you're law enforcement, you're sheriff, right?
Yep, I'm deputy sheriff.
And then you also do MMA. The mental or
mindset.
There we go. Yeah.
Mindset matters athletics. Yeah.
You got that. Plus, you got all your hands. How do you balance all of the things that you have going on? Because I feel like that's a big thing that we like to talk about on this podcast, especially is like especially being 26-year-old. That's some of the things that we at our age struggle with is balancing all these things that we want to do, plus our career, plus family, and all that. So how is the balance like for you?
Time management is obviously a pretty good, important skill to have. And we talk a lot about that with the Mindset Matters Athletics with our athletes and our coaches. But, I get to do the greatest job on the planet, in my opinion, with my job as a police officer. I've been in law enforcement now for over 30 years. And we just get so many opportunities to impact the lives of so many people in our community and help our community. And it's just been, awesome to serve here. Started my career in Miami, Florida after I graduated from Eastern Kentucky. Got to play ball down there for a couple years, 3 years. But, come back here and I've been serving our community, like I said, for 30 years now. And for the last... since 2007, I've been our chief deputy. So basically, I'm stuck in the office a lot. But I get to help facilitate, the day-to-day operations of the office. And, we have 6 divisions, and I have 6 division commanders that I get to work with closely and make sure they have what they need for their divisions and help them get their work done as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So. I guess the old saying is if you love your job, you don't work very often.
Yeah.
I do love my job. It's been a great job. And, along those same lines, I've been in a leadership role now for, since 2001, I became a sergeant. And then from there, promoted through the ranks at our office. Spent time as a lieutenant in patrol, a SWAT team commander, detective division commander, and then now, and since 2007, I've been our chief deputy. So leadership roles, and leadership has always been something that I really study. I really work hard on. I've been able to teach it for the last 15 years through courses, the state insurance carrier for 68 of the 88 counties in Ohio, and they've hired me the last 14 years now to teach leadership to law enforcement, public safety officials all across the state 4 times a year. I've got to teach at a national conference up in Grand Rapids. Got to teach a couple years ago in Fort Myers, Florida. I got a call on that one, and they're like, "You want to come down here and teach?" I'm like, let me think about this. So yeah, I'll go. So it was a lot of fun. So, the law enforcement side of things is my passion, has always been my passion, but it's kind of led into, I've been involved in athletics my whole life. Like I said, I played at Licking Valley, played 3 sports out there. I know you had Robbie Montagnes on.
Yes, I did.
A while back. I grew up with Robbie's father.
Okay.
Rob.
Yeah. I knew him fair amount. I mean, we spoke fair amount. Robbie was, I believe, a freshman when I was a senior, but I mean, everybody kind of knows who he is because of the hospital and everything. So yeah, I knew him pretty good growing up, and my best friend's brother was like good friends with Robbie, so I kind of was around him a handful of times outside of sports and everything like that.
Yeah, great guy. So we kind of grew up together out in Hanover. Both of us went to Licking Valley High School, and sports has always been a big part of my life. And
well, especially Licking Valley sports is a big part of Licking Valley.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. It was one of those that almost reminds me of especially like football. It's similar, almost like that Texas style football where it's like the whole town's going to the game. It's that kind of feel to Hanover and Licking Valley.
Yeah, it's the SEC says it just means more or whatever.
Yeah.
It means a lot out there
yeah.
too.
Yeah. So you would you prefer, you've done in law enforcement in both Miami and here in Ohio, which one did you have one that you prefer, or is it kind of different stuff, or what's it like in both of them?
It's different. It was a great job down there. I spent just under 2 years down there. I graduated in 93 from Eastern Kentucky and started January 2nd of 94, and spent a couple years down there. Great experience. Got an opportunity to go down there because of the young man I played college baseball with, Tony Prieto. His dad was an officer down there, and at a parents' weekend said, "Hey, what are you studying?" I told him police administration. He's like, "I'm a cop in Miami. You got to come down." I'm like, "No, I'm not coming to Miami." But one thing led to another, and he called me the week of graduation and said, "Hey, we're giving a test." And so I went down, took the test, and he said, "Stay with me and my family at my house. You can take the test, and I'll get you a ride along." And so I took the test. It was at the Port of Miami. There's 3,000 people in there taking this test, and took the test. And that night, he got me a ride along with the gang unit. And so I rode from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. with the gang unit down in Miami. And they're like, "How do you know Prieto?" And I'm like, "I play ball with the son." Well, here he was a major in charge. He was 4th in charge of this 3,000-man agency. He never told me that. So he got it to where I could take a couple of tests each time. I think I made 4 trips back and forth from here. I was working at Rockwell. My father worked at Rockwell before it closed, obviously. So back and forth, and I remember getting the call January 24th from Tony. He said, "Hey, have you heard anything yet?" Because I'd taken my psych test the week before, and I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you passed, and your academy starts January 2nd. So I still have a job here. So I got to pack up and move everything to Miami in 6 days. Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting trip. But being a cop in Miami is you get a lot of education really fast. The pace of everything's a little bit different. I worked midnight shift the whole time. Okay. It was nothing to have 25 calls a night.
What would you say is a typical night here in Ohio for say?
At our office right now, and we're getting busier. The county is growing, as you're well aware, with Intel coming in. But if our guys, they're going to have 8 or 10 calls, maybe a shift. the biggest difference is down there, we didn't do any type of follow-up. We went to the call, we handled the call, got it situated. If it was a burglary or whatever, we waited till the detectives got there. We did the initial report and left and went to the next call. Here, our guys, the expectation's a little bit different. They're going to do some follow-up. They're going to do some things that we didn't have to do down there. There's no possible way you could handle that many calls here. But it was just a really good learning experience. Grew up a lot, grew up real fast, and wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. It was a great experience for me.
I feel like it kind of helped. Did it almost feel slow when you came to Ohio? Like when you go from call to call to call, and then now it's like, yeah, you're still have a good amount of calls, but it's kind of like a little more time in between almost.
Yeah, and when I started here in '95, that's how old I am. Funny little story. I was doing a jail to walk through the other day with one of the sergeants, and I was talking to one of the corrections officers, and he asked me if I ever worked in the jail here. And I said, yeah, back in 95 and 96. And he said, I was born in 96. I'm like, that tells you how old I am. So it was kind of a funny little story. But I had to start, back then all the deputies started in the jail. So I went from the road down there, come back here to worked as a deputy in the jail, basically a corrections officer. And yeah, it was a tough transition. That's a hard job. Our guys and gals do a great job in the jail. And we eventually transitioned away from deputies in the jail because we lost a lot of good people. We wanted to try to find people that wanted to be in that setting. We wanted to be corrections officers. We started that back in 2009, and now I think we have 80-some corrections officers in the jail. And that's what they want to do, and they do a great job. But it's a hard job, that's for sure.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the leadership thing too, because you talked about you've always kind of been in that leadership type of role, but what I wanted to go back to was it wasn't like 1 year and you're in the position that you are today. Kind of take people through the process of like it's going to be almost a slow climb, but you're over time you're going to start to see results as long as you kind of keep putting that time and that effort in.
Yeah, it's it's a process, and that's what we talk about with the MMA stuff. Everything is a process, and you got to trust the process and keep pushing the process. I come back here in October of 95, and I remember I spent 2 years in the jail, just under 2 years in the jail, and then I got out and did some community-oriented policing projects. Back then, we didn't have SROs at the schools, so there were a couple of us that would go to the schools, and we'd put mock crashes on during prom time just to kind of educate the kids on the dangers of speed and drinking and driving, things like that. Did that for a year or so, and then got an opportunity to go to our detective division, and loved that. Great job. I just love being busy anyway. And I remember, the first chance I got at a promotion, I had been there just like it was like a week away from my 5-year anniversary. The posting went out for a sergeant, and it's a funny story. And I talk to the sheriff about it all the time now. But back then, you had to be here 5 years before you could put in for the sergeant position. So I thought, no, it's a week away. The posting's just come up. They're not going to pick it until after the week. So I went in, and the sheriff at the time, he's chief deputy, and I'm like, hey, chief, I'm a week away. Can I put in for this? He goes, when's your year up? I said, like next week. He goes, when'd the posting go up? He goes, I said today. He goes, no. I said, I got you. It's just a process. But it was, the following year, another opportunity came along, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And, it was, I think, 2001 when I first got promoted to sergeant in our detective division. So I'd been there a little over 6 years, or right around 6 years. And, at that point, things kind of started taking off. I tell guys now, because I'm fortunate enough to get to interview 99% of the people that we're hiring now. That final interview I get to do. And I tell them, look, it's not hard to be successful here. Show up every day, do the best job you can, be nice to people, treat people the right way, and be seen doing the right things by the right people. And, people take notice, but it takes time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. And that's kind of been my motto, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep doing the best you can, regardless of what job you have now. Do it the best you can. and I read something I love reading. I'm reading The Obstacle is the Way right now.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's Darren Holiday. He said, all CEOs past started with pushing a broom, and push the broom the best you can, and do every little job that you're given the best you can, and people will take notice. So
Yeah.
it's kind of my motto. But, got promoted in 2001 to sergeant, and then it was 2003, I believe, I got promoted to lieutenant in patrol division. And at that time, I was assigned to patrol, and they were in charge of the SWAT team at the time. So I got to be involved with that for a little bit, which was a lot of fun. I still go out with them when I get a chance. I don't do the stuff they do anymore, but they're a little too young for me for that. But and then from there, it was about a year and a half later. We had some retirements, and I got an opportunity to go back to the detective division as a division commander, as a captain, and obviously accepted that position and loved every minute of it. And then in 2007, again, some retirements happened, and got an opportunity to be chief deputy, and that's where I've been ever since.
See, I want to kind of keep going on this too, because I feel like I was listening to a podcast today that was actually kind of talking about this side of things too. That's why it's coming up in my head. But, a lot of people might say, oh, he's lucky, or, right place, right time. But it's not necessarily that. I feel like it's more of you were prepared for you had the opportunity arose, but you were prepared for that chance to go there and do that opportunity that you were given. That's a lot of things that I think, especially, I'm sure you talk about it with MMA, just being able to these opportunities are going to arise, but you have to be prepared for them. If you're not prepared for them, the opportunity is going to be there, and you're going to fall short of what you want.
It's too late to prepare once the opportunity is there.
Exactly.
Back in 2001, I went back because I had my undergrad from Eastern Kentucky in police administration. And in 2001, I went back and got my master's through University of Cincinnati. So I kept trying to again, prepare myself and put myself in the best position possible when opportunities would come up. So, you definitely have to prepare at all times, be ready for that, because you never know when that moment's going to be.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same in sports as it is in life. And it is crazy what sports can teach you about life. You don't realize it in the moment of sports, but once you get later in life, I've already started realizing all these things like my high school coach used to say, my college coaches used to say, and it's like that wasn't necessarily about sports. That was more about, turning us into young men, Absolutely. And trying to prepare us for the future.
Absolutely. Sports is a direct mirror, if you will, of life. It's not easy, and it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
I tell my daughter all the time now, it's like, if you want to get ahead, it's not rocket science. Have a system, have a plan in place, and then execute it better than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people don't want to work anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Work, you're going to be able to get what you want to get, but you gotta own it. It's on you. So
yeah, it is. I mean, I look at even my, I feel like I grew up with a lot of different hard workers in my class and stuff, but I'm looking at like some of them don't have jobs and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like I wanted a job as like you have kids that don't even get their license till they're 18 now, and I'm like, I wanted my license as soon as I could, and I wanted a job to make my own money, which you think you're making a crap load of money when you first get that first job, right. But it wasn't until I started working for Steve where I was like, oh, that's money. Like that's when I actually, and it's still like I'm not saying I'm making a crap load of money, but it's like you start to step up and you start to realize like all this hard work from the time I was young is what's starting to pay off now. And I feel like the generation today, they don't want to put in that extra work that they don't want to do the stuff when no one's watching.
Right.
And that's a hard thing for me to watch, because I'm sure it's hard for you too, especially being in coaching, and like you're like, this is how we all were, like everybody that I grew up with, that's just how we were. Like we went to the field and did extra stuff on a Saturday and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember in high school I played for Coach Boffman.
Okay.
He's still out there, Coach.
He's been out there for ages.
We had a meeting last night he was at. So another great man, Mm-hmm. And but I remember playing summer ball. I had opportunities to play baseball and got an opportunity to play in the World Series when I was coming into my junior year. But I'd had to miss the first week of football practice. And so I had to go talk to Coach Boffman and tell him, and it was all good, but I had additional work to make up.
Yep.
And there was a mile for every day that I missed, but I remember running those extra miles by myself. He didn't come up there and watch. He knew I was going to take care of it, and I'd run and repeat. What's going to happen in the games. Just constantly. That's on me. It's all on me, and doing that extra work is something that if you can make that a habit, and it's part of who you are, you can separate yourself from a lot of people.
Well, and it starts to become, practicing those motions. I'm sure it's the exact same in law enforcement. You train, whether it's sports, law enforcement, it starts to become muscle memory, and then you're not thinking. And especially in law enforcement, if you have to sit there and think about what to do next, which I know that there's an analytical process to it, but a lot of things are muscle memory of what you should be doing. And if it could be life or death if you don't train the right way or aren't showed the right way and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I went 2 weeks ago. We have 7 new cadets that just started at our office this last couple of weeks, and they were going through some training at Hall of Fame the other day.
Okay.
They let us use their buildings for building searches and things like that, and some of our SWAT guys were over there training with them, so I went and watched and hung out. And they even had new stuff from the last time I had seen it. And it's just, you're right. You have to stay up to speed on the tactics, and you have to train them. It's not just knowing them. You have to train them. It has to become muscle memory. Your movements, if it's you by yourself, or if it's 2-man, or if it's 3-man, or if it's 4-man, where are you going? What's your responsibilities? Know your role. And execute that and trust that your partner, knows theirs.
That sounds a lot like sports as well.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and that's kind of why Dan Davis helps me with the Mindset Matters stuff. He's just an incredible guy. I saw him today, retired military sergeant major, and he played college baseball, got a daughter that plays softball with my daughter. And he's all about it. This is the life lessons that we get to teach through sport. And there's a statistic he found. It was like 86% of female CEOs in this country played college athletics, and it's like,
Wonder why. We've always been told that, like, especially in high school and college, put on your resume that you were an athlete.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like it does help you. It shows you some of those, or it helps show your, potential employer that I've been in these, these standards and these things. I understand how a team works and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
you've learned how to work with other people. You've not just got the degree and you've done the work to get the degree. You've gone above and beyond, and as somebody hiring that person, I know it's not an extra 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's 15, 20, depending on where you're at, what level, and there's great athletes at every level. We preach all the time. Everybody has this D1 or bust mentality, and that couldn't be farther from a healthy perspective.
That was me. I mean, that was my mindset going into my senior year, where I said I was either going to go, if I didn't get a D1 or D2 offer, I was going to go to the military. I ended up breaking my elbow and ended up going to play D3 football after my senior year. And I got a real good wake-up call when I went to D3 football because I was lucky enough we came up with a large class, so it was freshman on freshman practice at the end usually, and I ended up getting some interceptions and kind of got some playing time, got myself in some special teams roles. But that, I'll never forget, my very first play of college football. I was on kickoff return, got my drop, and got put straight on my butt. It was like, all right, this is college football. It's just kind of a wake up call that every level. I mean, I played against D1 transfers, and I played with D1 transfers that you're just like, they're better. And there's nothing you can do about it. But it is, every level has there are stars at every level.
Absolutely. It's amazing when you go watch. I remember the first time I went to watch Denison play. This is probably 15 years ago. I went over and watched him play one. They had this safety that looked like an NFL guy.
Yeah.
He was 6'4", like 215, 220. I'm like, he's different.
Yeah. I mean, look at Mount Union. The people that are at Mount Union are insane.
Yeah.
But Who would you say, speaking of all this leadership, that you look up to in a leadership perspective, whether it's, a celebrity type style of like, a Jocko or something like that? Is there anybody that you try to maybe not model after, but, really like the concepts that they have in terms of leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen my Jocko go.
I love those things. They're so good.
I found them the other day. I ordered some and I got them in. I'm like, they're really good.
Yeah.
I don't have one person in particular that I look at like as far as a leadership guru. John Maxwell is one guy that I read a lot of his stuff. John Gordon, Patrick Lencioni, I read a lot of his stuff. Lately, the last probably 2 or 3 years, Brian Cain is, in my opinion, the best mental performance coach going right now, and kind of become friends with Brian. We hired him. Actually, we were fortunate enough, our superintendent at Licking Valley allowed him to do a year-long training session with our coaches, and so we've had monthly Zoom meetings with him. And last year I remember watching the College World Series, and I sent Dan, who helps me with MMA, a screenshot of Brian Cain texting me saying, "What's the pitching routine?" The guy from, I think it was Texas A&M or one of them. He goes, "What's his pre-pitch routine?" And he's asking me text message questions, and I'm like, Dan, this is awesome. I got Brian Cain asking me questions, but he's been a big mentor of mine. Obviously my dad, he passed away back in 2010, but it just somebody I looked up to a lot. I'm a lot like him, good and bad. There's I'm not perfect by any means, but I think what helps me, and is I think I'm a very competitive person, and when I was younger, I think that it didn't hurt me necessarily, but it didn't help me. I wish I knew then what I know now about mental performance and how it affects you and how it can change. It can transform you from being a pretty good player to a really good player to a great player. Yeah. Today it just separates. That's what separates the greatest athletes. They're all good at the collegiate level. They're all good, and it's the physical differences are that much. Yeah. It's all mental, and but I do think that to get to that level and to be successful, you got to have you got to have a competitive edge. Yeah. Because life's a competition. Yep. I get frustrated sometimes when I hear people say, "Well, I think, people are too competitive." That I don't know if there's such a thing. I think you have to reel it in or be able to control it. Yeah. But you're competing every day of your life. If you put in for a job application, there's 20 other people that you're going up against, and you have to prepare. We talked about being ready for it. We're competing for jobs. We're competing for promotions. We're competing for, a spouse. Yeah. In life, you are going through life, and it's, there's things that you have to get outside of your comfort zone and be willing to make a mistake and be willing to fail. And that's what sports teach you too. The more times you fail, the more you learn. Yep. The more confidence you build. It didn't kill me.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings to say, and I say it just about every episode, but I will never quit saying it, is you will learn more from your failures than you ever will your successes. Your failures are the biggest lessons in life. Even the smallest failures of, I slipped on that cut, and it's like, yeah, all right, your footwork, you work on your footwork and that kind of stuff. Every little thing, every little failure is actually just helping you grow.
Absolutely. There was a clip from Kobe Bryant when he talked about when he gets beat, how does he feel? He said he gets excited. Yep. He gets excited. Now, what do you mean get excited? He goes, so I get to look and see what happened. Why did I get beat? I can learn from what just happened. We can't always control the results. No. But we can control how we prepare and how we stay focused. And but yeah, our failures teach us a lot more than our successes at times. Yep. If you take it the right way.
Yeah, but the one thing I learned in college is even the wins, you still had a lot to improve on. Like there's always improvement. You're never you will never play a perfect game. Right. You will never do perfect at your job. You're going to make mistakes, but it's what you do with those mistakes, and it's what you do to learn and grow for them.
Absolutely. You have to, sometimes when you're successful, over an extended period of time, I hate to say you get soft, but you expect things to be that way. Just like for work examples, when our SWAT team goes out and then we have a SWAT mission, they're going to go through the pre-plan, the pre-op. They're going to go through all of it. They go execute the mission, then they come right back, regardless of what happens, and they have a debrief. And everybody gets their say on what happened, what went right, what didn't go right. Fortunately, no one got hurt, but this happened. Things like that. So you're constantly evaluating everything, and it's easier to evaluate when you lose because, well, wait a minute, we have to find out what happened. When we win, sometimes we're content.
Yeah.
That's
what I mean. That going back to Kobe Bryant, that's one of the things that sticks in my head is when they asked him after a playoff win. They're like, why don't you look happy? And he's like, what's there to be happy about? Job's not finished. Like, they haven't won the series yet. And it's like, that kind of mentality it's different than most people, but it's a mentality that more people should try to adopt. Are we going to be the same mentality as Kobe Bryant? Probably not. Right. He was a different breed, just like Michael Jordan and those type of players. You're not going to get to that mentality necessarily, but if you understand about the idea of just because you won doesn't mean you should stop.
Right.
That means keep going.
You're not done.
Get better.
Yep.
Because you won, that person that lost, they're coming behind you trying to catch up to you. And if you don't keep going, they will catch up to you and pass you.
Yeah. Perfect example of that. I'm watching an NBA game the other day. I haven't watched an NBA game in 2 years.
It's tough to watch NBA for me.
Yeah. But I'm watching this game, and there's 3 or 4 players I know, and then there's 9 players. I have no idea who these guys are. I'm like, everybody, there's young guys out there every day coming out there to take what you have, and you can't rest on your past successes. You got to keep working.
Yeah. So the Mindset Matters Athletics, when did that start, and kind of what was the idea behind starting it? Like what kind of sparked the idea for it?
It started back really I got the idea from my boys when they were, they graduated from Valley, played baseball, then they went to JUCO first down at Sinclair, played for Coach Denneman, who I can't say enough about that guy. He just he's coaching out in Northern Kentucky. Anyway, he introduced them to Brian Kane.
Okay.
And then they would call me, hey, you ever heard of this guy? I'm like, no, I've never heard of him. And he would say, well, before practice, we're sitting on the gym floor and we're doing these things called concentration grids. And we're doing all this mental performance stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I started looking into it. And next thing you know, I'm like, this stuff's pretty good. And at the time, I wasn't coaching any longer. I coached them when they were growing up until they were like, I think 17, and then they went on. They're way past dad coaching them. But, and I wasn't coaching at the high school at the time, but I thought, you know what, I want to see what this is all about. So I got involved with Brian Kane, got certified mental performance coach through his company, and started there and started messing around with it a little bit just with our local high school baseball program. I'm good friends with the high school coach over there. And it was about a year and a half ago, at one of my daughter's games, I was talking to Dan Davis, and he's just retired military. And I was telling him about it, and he's like, I need to get involved with something like that. And so we got to talking about it, and I said, well, let's do this. I said, you go get certified through Brian Kane, and we'll start coaching. Before you know it, he called me. Hey, I got my certification, and one thing led to another, and now we're working with. He sent me the list the other day. I've worked with Muskingum University softball for 2 years now. They just got to a super regional for the first time in a long time. Coach Connor's awesome down there. They had 17 freshmen, and they got to a super regional. So, but I've been working with them in Marysville High School for a couple years. Obviously, our high school, Newark High School. He's done Shawnee Hills High School volleyball, Kenton Ridge softball, who just today got beat in the state semifinals. Okay. I think Kenton Ridge was the team that Sierra and them beat in the state championship game when they won the state championship back in the day. Man. So his daughter's playing over there at Kenton Ridge, so we always talk. And he's like, yeah, you guys got us last time. So, but we started talking about it, and I do more of the team stuff. Okay. I love getting in with the team and doing the MVP process and mission, vision, principles. he does a lot more than the individual. He's got a tight end from Mississippi State he works with. He's got a wrestler from UVA he's working with. He's just a really, really good communicator. His heart's in the right place. He's just a great human being, and it just, people, they gravitate towards him. And so we started about a year and a half ago, and it's kind of taken off, and we're as busy as we want to be at the time. But it's rewarding too. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, I think my law enforcement job is the best job on the planet, but this is close second. I get to work with kids and make an impact on them. It's really rewarding.
What's cool about everything that you do, whether it's coaching, the law enforcement and Mindset Matters, all of it is impactful. And that's what I admire about you, is the fact that you're always looking to help someone. Essentially, you're not. Yeah, it's not about the money for you. You can tell it's more about, I want to help people.
Yeah, it's that's life to me. That's being able to help other people. I didn't get where I'm at by myself.
Yeah, you never do. You never get.
I had help along the way, and every part of my life I've had help. So I think that's just a little bit of my responsibility to, I'm a Christian, and I just, my belief system is based on, helping other people too. Yeah. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm still working on all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But, it's just, I think it's a service-driven approach to everything. I enjoy it.
Trying to be a good person. It's something that I feel like a lot of people are straying away from in today's world. I still do believe there's a lot of good people. The problem is you turn on the news and all it is all these bad things that are going on. But there are so many good people. I love when I see good stories, and it's like, promote those. Yes. We don't need, I do understand the idea of behind showing the bad stuff that's going on as well. Right. But I feel like there's not enough promotion of good people being good people. Yes. And that, I'm sure you see it every day. You guys see probably both worlds, but you see a lot of good people, I'm sure.
There's still a ton of good people. I remember, after the George Floyd incident up there, and, the riots in different parts of the country, and riots even close to us here in Columbus, mm-hmm. I'd ask our patrol guys, how are you guys, how's everything going out on the street? You catching any grief? And they're like, we can't go into a gas station without someone coming up and telling us thank you for your service. One guy said the guy gave him like 3 packs of Lifesavers. He was sitting at the gas station, guy walked over and gave him Lifesavers, said, you guys are Lifesavers. And I said, we're blessed here in Licking County. We've got a really good community. We work really hard to keep that relationship, good.
Yeah.
And, our profession, it's a tough profession. And unfortunately, there are bad people in our profession too.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not naive, and I'm not that cop that says, there's no bad cops. There are bad cops. Are the racist cops? Yeah. Who wants those bad cops and racist cops out more than anybody? The good cops.
Yeah, because it's a reflection on them, that not necessarily portrayed on them, but that's the problem, is you started to see where everybody thought every cop was bad. Yeah. Because one bad apple sours the whole thing.
Absolutely. And I know I've worked, like I said, 30 years here in this community with all of the agencies, with Newark, Heath. I can't name them all, but they're all really good people. Mm-hmm. They all try to do the right thing. And when we have somebody that messes up, we take care of it. And 99% of the time, it's not a mistake that's going to cost somebody a career or anything like that. But sometimes it is. And when that happens, then we have to deal with it. We have always been transparent, but now it's so important to be transparent with the community, because we owe them that.
Yeah.
But we do a really good job with that.
Yeah, I can say, I would say, I feel like a lot of people almost get a bad perception of cops, because if they have a cop, they're either getting pulled over for speeding, or if they're at their house, it's something usually not good. Right. So I feel like that's kind of a thing that, did you guys ever have that where it's like you're kind of getting those people on maybe like the worst day, like you're giving them a bad day for say, and is it most of the time, is it usually a good experience, like with the, I don't know what you call them, but like the people, if you pull them over or whatever, like, is it usually a good experience, or is it kind of sometimes bad?
It can be bad.
Yeah.
But usually it's pretty good. I mean, they know, and we tell our guys, we have a certain way that we want them handling that traffic stop.
Yeah.
Explain to them why you stopped them. Explain to them that your job is out here to protect them and everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's not personal.
Yeah.
But we do have a job to do, and we take it very serious.
Yeah. So with the Mindset Athletics, I wanted to kind of speak on like what exactly you guys do for the people, for the listeners that may be interested in it. So if they wanted to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a website, mindsetmattersathletics.com. You can check that out, and we have an email link on there. You can reach me on there, Coach Dennis at mindsetmattersathletics.com. But you can sign up there for individual coaching or team coaching. Either way, we'll reach out to them and find out what they want. And we're really cautious about ages of kids, because we've had 9-10-year-old kids, parents call us and say, hey, we need this and that. Like, look, let's just talk for a minute. It's mental performance training.
What is your guys' typical age that you try to stick to?
It's a little bit different. With boys it's 14ish.
Yeah.
Girls could be a little bit younger. They're way more mature than we are. At that age, they seem to comprehend a little bit more. But when we have somebody that young, we try to make sure that the parents are involved in every coaching session, so they can reiterate what we're talking about and help at the dinner table.
Yeah.
After that game that didn't go so well, they can sit there and talk to them about big picture thing here. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not. This isn't the last game.
Yeah.
And help them deal with dealing with adversity, because sports are tough, especially we do a lot of baseball, softball, and it's a game of failure. It really is, and you have to.
It's a game of ups and downs too. You're constantly going up and down.
Yeah, and that was when I was a kid. That was it. I was always so high, or when we got beat, And my boys were the same way. I wish I knew more about this when my boys were younger, because Jacob he's a left-handed pitcher. Pitched at North. He was like me. He's so fiery. He's so competitive that his emotions would get the best of him sometimes. Cody was much more in control, but still, I just wish I could have had that opportunity when they were 14, 15, 16 growing up to kind of set that foundation of being resilient, understanding that not every moment is the last moment. You're going to have 10,000 more at bats, Cody or Jake. But they would be mad for 2 days after a loss.
Yeah.
Where my daughter, after a loss, she wants ice cream. She's competitive. She wasn't a lot when she was little, but now she's getting there. But she still understands it's not that big.
Yeah.
It's not that big. It's not the end of the world, and she does a nice job.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's also, how is it being a parent? Because I feel like you've seen both sides. I would feel like I was blessed with my family. You have a lot of parents who are really tough on their kids after a loss or if they have a bad game. But I was lucky enough that I'd get in the car after a football game. My mom knew more about football, I think, than I did. Still to this day, I think she still knows more about football. She grew up with 4 brothers, so she didn't really have a choice. But she'd always go, "You want the good or the bad?" And I was like, "Well, let's just start off with the bad." And she'd tell me things, and I'd always do that. "You don't know what you're talking about." And then I'd be watching film going, "Ah, crap, she was right." Yeah, she was right. But, the parenting side of things, because I like that you include the parents too, to kind of, it's almost helping coach them to coach their children as well.
Yes. Especially with the younger ones, we try to do that. It's tough coaching today. I'll just be honest with you. I've coached now for 4 years at the high school level and club ball for a long time. And those are different, two arenas. Expectations are a little different, but it's hard to get parents on board with understanding it's okay for your kid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for us to coach your kid. We love your kid.
Yeah.
We do. But there are times when they need coached. And part of the MMA program, we call it our Elevate program. And our first camp in that is Elite Mindset. And part of that is making that decision to be, have a mindset, make a decision that, it's all on me, and I want to be coached. It's not about, Kobe Bryant, he didn't want to be patted on the back all the time and told how good he was. He wanted to hear what else he needed to do to get better.
Yeah.
I think that's that mindset that we have to instill in our kids, and it has to be reinforced with our parents. Celebrate wins, celebrate successes. I mean, I'm not saying that. It's not all business all the time.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Especially for a 14-year-old or a young 8-year-old playing softball. Like, let them have their wins. Let them be excited about their wins.
They've got to have fun, or they're not going to stay with it. And that's why that younger age group is so tough, But when you're starting to get into high school now, you got to try to figure out how to get that mindset of being elite. How can I get better? And I want to be coached.
Yeah.
I want to hear what I need to do to get better. I don't want to be patted on the back all the time. I just want to know, hey, what I do, pretty good. What can I do to get better?
Yeah.
So the Elevate program is a 7-step program we go through with all of our athletes and all of our teams. We go through, before we even start that with our teams, we do an MVP process, which is mission, vision, principles, where we get the mission of the team. What's the mission of this team? And then we go through all the principles that are important to them. And then at the bottom, we go through above the line and below the line behaviors as a player, as a person, and as a student.
Okay.
So above the line as a player might be 15 minutes early, for practice.
Mm-hmm.
Always be prepared for practice. Be coachable. All that kind of stuff. As a person, be kind. Be a good teammate as a player and a person.
Yeah.
A student. We want. And we had the teams help make that MVP process up. So they got buy-in. They as a group, there's a decision made on these are the above the line and below the line behaviors for all of us.
I like that a lot because so every year in college, we'd have voluntary. I mean, they were 100% voluntary meetings, and anybody could come. It wasn't like it was the captains or the seniors. Right. Anybody could come, and we for like 2 months would kind of battle it out with each other of what are our team goals next year.
Yeah.
And it was you went through, there was some arguments on some things, but it's good when the team's involved in that kind of process because it makes them buy in more, I feel like.
Absolutely. And when like I always say, the program's my program at Valley. The team is the team's team. That's the players' team. And we want this being team-led, player-led, I can set the direction, I can help guide, where we're going, but I need leaders on the team.
Yeah.
Because when I have a senior that can go to a sophomore or freshman and say, hey, that's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
You're late today. It means a whole lot more coming from their teammate than it does, a 53-year-old ball guy. So it just we get the kids involved in every part of the MVP process. We make a poster up. We want to make a and we set it up. We did it for Licking Heights, we did it for Marysville, Newark High, all of them, and they hang it up, and that's the process for the team, and no one can question because they were part of building it.
Exactly.
So we start there, and then we go through the Elevate program with them with the elite mindset and then vision, line of action.
Okay.
And that's a military term that Dan brought in, but basically it's goal setting and what your process is going to be to help you get from here to where you want to go. We call it reverse engineering. We got to find out where it is you want to go. We have girls that don't want to play college baseball or college softball, and that's fine. But we also have girls that want to play college softball, okay? What level of college softball you want to play? We go through that process. Okay, what does that type of player look like? Okay, we know what it looks like. Now, where are you at?
Yeah.
So
self-evaluation side of things.
Yeah, self-awareness is a hard thing for some people to have. And it's even harder for parents to have.
Oh, yeah.
But we look at where you're at and look at where you want to go, and then say, okay, what do I need to do over the next? If I'm a senior and I want to be here and I want to play a Division I program, I don't have much time.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a junior, I got a little bit more time. Sophomores, you got more, and a freshman. So you can set your line of action based on how much time you have, and then execute the plan, execute the process to help you get to where you want to go. But it all is based on how much do you want that.
Yep.
how disciplined are you going to be once you create that plan to stick to that plan?
Yeah.
And if you can be disciplined enough to stick to it, then you're going to give yourself a shot. There's no guarantees in anything, but you're going to have a shot if you stick to that plan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like the self-awareness side of things, and it is definitely especially hard for parents because everybody's kid's a D1 athlete, so you always have that. But that self-awareness thing that follows you throughout your entire life too. And it's not just, being a 14-year-old softball player. It's once you get to, you should really almost self-aware every single day. There's some type of evaluation you need to make on yourself. We all make decisions where we're like that wasn't us. That maybe we, yell at somebody or, speak out a term. Like we say things we don't mean. You need to make that self-evaluation on yourself every single day and I think it's good to, where do you want to go, and reverse engineer it. All right, look at yourself now. What do you got to do? What is the action plan that you're about to put in place to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of kids, they want to play softball at Oklahoma. And one of the first things I pull out a picture of Oklahoma softball players standing down the first baseline, and I'm like, okay, this is what an Oklahoma softball player looks like. Where are we?
Yeah.
we got work to do, right? I mean, it's just a different level of softball, and it's okay to have those big dreams. I don't want to crush anybody's dreams, but let's be realistic. Let's be, focused on what's possible, and then make it happen.
And who's to say you don't go to one school and then you can transfer into Oklahoma once you get to that point? Like, you may have to buy yourself a little more time.
Absolutely.
But you also may fall in love with that school, and maybe that's Oklahoma now. You never know what's going to happen. So everybody always gets caught up of trying to go to the best school or, the top school, which I get it. If I had the chance to play at Ohio State for football, I definitely would have took that opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
But if I'd have had a chance to play at Ohio University, I also would have took that opportunity. So there's nothing wrong with going lower because the college sports, only X% makes it in. That's what people do not understand. No matter what level you go to, you are one of the few people. There was 6 of us when I graduated that went and played college sports. I think only 2 of us lasted all 4 years.
Yeah.
Or 6 of us that went and played college football for set. So not everybody makes it. So just because you get there day one too doesn't mean you're gonna make it all 4. It's not a walk in the park.
Absolutely.
It's a very long road.
Yeah. And my boys, I was proud of them, the way their path went. They, right out of high school, neither one was ready for that level, but they still had that dream of playing Division I baseball. And they had a couple D2 offers. They had Mike Deegan at Denison. I don't know, he would be a good one for your podcast.
I've heard the name. Unbelievable.
I mean, just you talk about a great man, great baseball coach, but even better man. That's Mike Deegan. He recruited the boys out of high school, but at the time, they couldn't give him a number. And they still, that was the only, in their mind, D3 school they would entertain because they loved Mike. Mm-hmm. And Cody was, if he could have given us a number, Cody was close. But they made that choice to forgo the D2 offer and went JUCO because Cody was not big enough yet. He was middle infielder, shortstop, graduated 142 pounds. Jacob didn't have the velo yet. He's a left-handed pitcher, but he didn't have the velo yet. They go to Sinclair with Coach Denneman. Cody puts on 25 pounds in the fall, plays one game. Youngstown State offers him a scholarship. Jake finishes up that year. Wasn't supposed to be a conference guy, but they had a bunch of injuries, had some Tommy John issues. Ended up getting in the conference rotation, was first team all-conference. Northern Kentucky offers him a scholarship. So they took a chance on and bet on themselves to go JUCO. Like you said, the path can be different. Just make your choice and go. Be the best you can be where you're at, and then see what happens. Opportunities open up. If you're willing to put the work in, people will see. So exactly,
that's the thing. It kind of goes back to your career. You have to be prepared for when those opportunities come. If you're not putting in the work and you're not prepared, you will never go past where you're at. It is very hard to get past if you're not constantly preparing yourself for the future opportunities. Yep. But I want to talk about the book a little bit too, because you guys have a book. You and Dan, kind of tell us about it. What it's about.
Yeah, it's just it's like a 50-some page playbook on the Elevate program, and we've already talked about the elite mindset. Mm-hmm. line of action. But we go through every camp, the 7 camps. And the next camp is Camp 3, which is extreme ownership, and we got that from Jocko a little bit, and everything's good.
Still haven't read that book. I need to get that. I need to get on that book. I haven't got
great.
there yet.
It's awesome.
I have it. I just haven't read. I have a lot of books that I haven't got to yet, but because all these books, there's a lot of great books out there, and I enjoy reading like you. And I like reading and podcast anymore because it's such you can never stop learning.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You learn from it, whether it's a freaking nonfiction book or a fiction book. You learn from both of them.
Absolutely.
I prefer, books like Jocko's and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, his podcast, I'm sure you've probably heard it. He reads a lot of books.
Yeah,
and goes through the book.
I have a handful of his books that he's read on his podcast because he doesn't read the whole book, but like he'll be reading it. And I'm like, I need to read the rest of this.
Yeah, I try to read a book a month. That's my goal, is at least one book a month. And when I grew up, I didn't want to read anything. If I read anything, it was about Magic Johnson, my favorite basketball player, or somebody like that, Larry Bird. But
I was the same way, and then I read more in college personal books than I ever did my actual textbooks. But that's when for some reason in college, I just started reading, and I read just about every night before bed.
Yeah, it's a great habit.
Yeah,
habits make us and break us. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, the book goes through the Elevate program, like I said, elite mindset, line of action, extreme ownership. And extreme ownership is more than just, okay, everything's on me.
Mm-hmm.
If a mistake happens, you own it, especially as a leader. You're responsible. If one of my captains does something, and it makes a mistake, that's on me. I didn't prepare them enough, but then I have to take that a step farther. What do I need to do to get them prepared? It's not just enough to take responsibility for it. Let's fix it now. So extreme ownership is there, and then visualization is Camp 4. And our minds, when we talk about it in the book, can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. So we take our athletes through every step from getting off the bus. Last year when Muscatine went to the conference tournament up Mount Union, before they left, the day before, we sit down and we talked through the bus ride up over to the stadium, getting off the bus, walking out on the field, getting your cleats on, going out. Every step of that process we visualized. And that same process is we use in law enforcement, and people don't realize it. Our SWAT team, when they're getting ready to hit a house, we have the blueprints of the house. So they're sitting there stacked up. They know exactly where they're going. They stage before we go out in a line, 8 or 9 of them, and they walk through it, and they're visualizing exactly where they're going to go. And it's the same thing because they're prepared. They've already been there once in their mind. So when they get inside that house, they've already been there. Same thing happens with sports. We can see ourselves being successful. We know the picture that we're facing. We've seen them on film. We've seen ourselves in our mind being successful with it. And same thing, we even take them through visualization where we're not successful. And then how do we deal with that? We'll walk through that process too. But visualization is maybe the most or the least used tool in sports that can have such a huge benefit for athletes and not just athletes, but everybody in general in life. Yeah. So it's super important. And people think mental performance is all huggy. Leadership's all huggy. It's not.
No. It's a lot of tough love too.
It is a lot of tough love, and but visualization is something that we need to do more of, and we do a lot of it with MMA, with box breathing. Getting into that. Getting your focus right where you're at. With we use tools like the concentration grids. We have an app that we have all of our kids download, and we'll compete with it. At the end of every one of our sessions, we have, like Marysville, they get crazy with it. Their softball team, we got the whole softball team there. And we'll pair them up 2 at a time. And the winners go over here. Losers, you got to cheer for the person who beat you. And then it gets down to 2, and you got all these camps of people screaming and hollering. And they're going crazy. And, so it's a lot of fun. But it teaches them to focus, lock in where you're at. Because this is the moment that matters the most. Right here, right now. Just breathe and execute the plan, and whoever can do that the best typically wins.
Yeah.
So, but again, winning is not in our control all the time.
No.
But being prepared is.
Yeah.
And being able to compete at a high level is.
Well, and sometimes in sports and in life, they are just better.
Yeah.
I mean, You may play the best game you guys have ever played in your life, but guess what? That they just have more talent. They just, they had a few more shots. They did a little bit better. Sometimes that happens, but that's also called life. That you'll have that in. There's probably times where two people are going against a job. You look perfect on paper, but this person maybe just had one thing that just set them above. Right. And they wish they could hire both of you, but they only have one opening. Yeah. So like that kind of stuff comes upon us all the time in life and in sports.
Yeah, and we talk about that. It's not you're always going to play people that are bigger, stronger, faster. Eventually. Yeah. But it's the team or the person that plays the best that day that wins.
Yep.
So go let it fly. Be the best version of you and then see what happens. They might beat you. But no regrets if you go out there and be the best version of yourself and go after it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, look at the upsets. You see upsets in March Madness is the huge one where, there's upsets every year that people are like, how did that happen? And it's not about – you have the better teams, but sometimes you can play better than those better teams. And especially if you come out, I feel like that's a big thing. I'm sure you talk about, like, you got to come out from the start ready to go. Like, you can't – we always used to our defensive coordinator always used to tell us in college, you can't wait till halftime to start playing. If you wait till halftime, the game's already over. We already lost. So you always have to come out right away and punch them in the mouth is what we always did. But you got to come out ready to go.
Have a sense of urgency. We've had teams over the years that kind of would start slow, and we would say, okay, we're down 5 to start the game.
Yep.
Just let's go into this game like we're down 5. Let's just fight back and get in it, but get after it right from the first pitch. So yes, that sense of urgency is critical because sometimes if you give up 4 or 5 in the first inning, game is over.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we in college we had this thing with turnovers where we had to go +3 every time we got a turnover. It was +1. Well, it used to be we had to go +1 to win the game, and we had a couple shaky offenses for a couple of years, and it turned into +3, and it became the new standard where we have to force 3 turnovers a game. And even like we may be up 21, and he's still like, we're only at +2. We need another one. Get another one. And it's like just that drive that kind of, but it put all of us in that mindset of go take what's ours, like go after it and keep going and don't get comfortable. You may be up 5 runs, but you can lose those 5 runs just as quick as you got them. Absolutely. So it's very important to not get complacent.
Right. And then the next camp in the book is attitude of gratitude. And it gets back to this is a game, and we get to play it. No one's forcing us to play it most of the time. There are those situations where a parent is overbearing with that. But most of the time, I get to be our chief deputy. I get to be in law enforcement, and I get to be a coach. No one forced me to be a coach. And I think once as an athlete, you understand that this is an opportunity for you. You get to do this. Not too many people do. Like you mentioned earlier, how many kids get to play college football or college athletics, period?
Yeah.
And when things go bad, always remember that, because they are going to go bad. It's just a fact. There's no way if you play sports long enough that you're not going to have bad days.
Yeah.
So just having that attitude of gratitude and understanding, I'm getting to do something a lot of other people would really like to do.
Yeah.
And so that's a big camp that we focus on. And then the last 2 camps, we train habits and routines of excellence, and we really talk about AM, PM routines. And your day starts the night before. You stay up late on your phone, sitting in bed, and we do a little drill with all the kids and have them pull up their daily average screen time. Whew. I had a kid, it's from Marysville, and she's a great kid. She had an average like 13 and a half hours.
Oh, wow.
Of screen time a day. But she did listen. She said during school they let them listen to music or whatever. Okay. So there was a lot of. But I said, how many in here sitting there in their bed at night for half hour, 45 minutes scrolling? They're all like this. We cause ourselves a lot of problems by not taking care of things at night. Just getting into the habit of putting your clothes out for the next day. It takes you 30 seconds to go lay out the clothes that you're going to wear the next day. Be prepared to get up. Everybody has the same routine. You get up, you shower, you brush your teeth, whatever it is you do. You go eat breakfast and you're out the door. Kids are real quick and they're out and they have the same. And as adults, we have routines, but lock in those PM routines, and that makes your whole day go much better. If you're not tired, if you're tired and you don't have energy, life's tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you're tired all the time, Jocko said, "I'm retired." Go get a workout in. Good. That makes you even stronger. Well, Jocko's different.
Yeah, he's another different breed.
He's a different breed. But we talk about training those habits and routines of excellence and starting to get into the habit of taking care of your whole person. It's not just working out harder. It's what are you doing to recover?
Yeah.
What are you eating to fuel your body to where all that work you're putting in, you're getting the gains you need to get. And it's hard for a kid because they love to eat. My daughter is the most food-driven person ever, and and luckily she works out. Another guy for your podcast, Brandon Freeman.
I've heard that name as well.
Unbelievable, but he's a performance coach here in Newark.
Okay.
I think he ran track at Ashland, was All-American
at
Ashland, but. Another great guy, but I talked to Brandon and said, "Hey, help me out with D. We got to," because she's physically she's gifted and she can run and she's a good athlete. But there's parts that I think that she's given away. And I told, it's hard for Dad to come in and say, "Hey, you work really hard." She does. She loves the weight room. She's in the weight room all the time. She goes to Brandon all the time. But I think she's given away some of that by not fueling herself the right way. So. Brandon had a little talk with her, and
that's becoming a huge thing that I didn't realize almost more until after college, because I feel like it wasn't as talked about and everything. Like it used to be like, the night before it was eat as much as possible and it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, and now it's like you need to eat this, and if you eat this, it's actually going to hurt you tomorrow, and like all this kind of stuff. And people always talked about, our trainers actually told us, like, you can drink Gatorade, but only like one glass, because our cafeteria had like the Gatorade, that you get. And they were like, try to only drink one, because if you start drinking too many, there's so much sugar in it that you don't realize all these things that you're like, oh, I'm hydrating, I'm drinking a Gatorade, and I'm drinking another Gatorade.
You think you're doing the right thing.
But it's in reality, you're not. So that's what recovery is a huge thing nowadays. And I'm glad it is talked about, because I did a lot of things wrong in terms of recovery and, preparing for the next day meal wise for, I always was trying to put on weight in high school for football, and I was doing it completely wrong. I was like, I'm eating all the time, but it's like, you're not eating the right things, or, you're almost eating unhealthy, not really the healthy way to do it.
Yeah. It was just work harder.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get better, work harder, be in the weight room more, run more.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't always true.
No.
And there's a fine line and a balance.
Yeah.
From with sleep, how important sleep is now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's all kinds of studies out there that talk about how important sleep is, and unfortunately for law enforcement, a lot of us don't get a whole lot of sleep, but it's something that you really have to prioritize. And if you can get those 7-8 hours of sleep a night, and kids, a lot of times they'll need more than that.
Yeah.
As much as they're working. So, but it's important to understand that those habits will make or break us.
Yeah.
And the more locked in we can be on our habits, and Brian Cain talks about it all the time. Do a little, a lot, not a lot, a little.
Mm-hmm.
Get into that routine of doing, being that 1% better every day. And, eventually that compound effect, there's another book for you, Brian Harvey.
Yep.
Compound effect's a good one. And over time, that growth starts to expand and really get big. And that's a big one. The habits are huge.
Yeah.
And then the last, the E on the elevate is evaluate everything. Because if you don't keep track of where you've been, sometimes you can get distracted. It's like lifting. You were trying to lift and gain weight in high school. You were probably benching or squatting or whatever.
Yep.
Did you keep track of where you were at when you started in the summer?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but if you would have, you might have seen, okay, now I'm, I don't know what you probably squatted 285, let's say, at the beginning of summer. Well, by the end of the summer, you're squatting 315 or 320. That's going to motivate you a little bit.
Yeah.
And kids are no different than adults. You know, we like to be told we're doing a good job. We like to see results happen. So do kids. And if they're not keeping track of that stuff, you know, sometimes it can get lost.
Yeah.
You know, we try to evaluate with our kids, you know, exit velocity off a tee, arm strength, you know, just how hard can you throw it. You know, we'll do it at the beginning of the fall, and then we'll do it, you know, right before the season starts. You know, in the weight room, you know, we try to evaluate, you know, we don't do heavy stuff, but we'll do the bar, you know, just a 45-pound bar. How many times can you bench it?
Yeah.
You know, and we had one girl, and then this girl is just the sweetest kid in the world. She couldn't do the bar one time. She's a freshman. One time in the fall. That was in February, right before the season. She did it 19 times. I mean, it was mad. She's not very big. She's itty bitty. And
the mental side of that to her is huge. The smile
on her face, and her teammates went crazy when she just kept going, kept going, and kept going. It's like, you know, that's what it's about, you know, and you see kids improving. It's not that they're going to be the greatest softball players in the world. I know, I mean, some are going to be better than others, but that just made that kid's confidence grow.
Yeah.
You know, and all things that she does a lot of stuff. You know, that she's going to be better because of that one little thing that she.
Yep.
And you benched a bar, you know, but it's huge for her.
Yeah.
You know, so as coaches, we that's our job to build that kind of stuff into it as well, to make sure we're keeping them motivated. And, you know, just keep pushing, make them better.
Did you ever think you'd have a book?
No. No, Dan and I talked about it for a long time, and we had a Google Doc we were sharing back and forth, and we cut and paste, and then I'd get in and start writing something, and then the next thing I go, half of it would be missing, or he'd write something and I'd change it. It was a lot of fun. But no, he's the like I said, I'm busy. And he's busy too.
Yeah.
He's really busy as well, but he kept me on track with the book. It's like, look, we got to get this done by the deadline. I'm like, all right, we're in. Let's do it. So, yeah, we got it done. I think in March it got published. And you can get it at Westbow Press is who did it. But it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble too. But
I'll put the link in the description for everybody that wants to go get it. I'll definitely be reading it. I'll probably have it read by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, it's a short, quick read, but it's just something, and we made it to where – you know, the kids and even coaches or whoever, you know, can throw it in their bag and you know, just have it, you know, and when, you know, on a bus trip, just read a little bit of it. It's not going to take you a week to read it. You know, a couple of days you can read it, and, you know, hopefully it'll help get them locked in and focused. And it's all about creating that system and a plan and a process that works best for them, because everybody's different, you know, and, you know, hopefully they can get something out of it and help them create their plan for them.
That's what I kind of wanted to ask too about that is, you know, with coaching and, you know, on both sides of it, every player is different. Every coach is different. Kind of how is it balancing that, and how like you have to feel it out? How does that go for you? You know, kind of figuring out how to coach each player. Because I mean, yeah, you may have some players that you can coach hard, or some you can't necessarily coach that hard, or they kind of shy away from it. So what's that like, trying to, you know, balance all of that?
It can be difficult. You know, you ask some of my players, and I can tell you I'm going to be really hard on them. You know, we do coach them up, and but I think, you know, Nate Wisner helps me coach out there, and Allie Braymeyer and Craig. But, you know, we try to set that foundation of, look, we care about we love every one of you, we really do, and our job here is to it's not about winning every game. Yeah, we want to win. Yeah, you know, we're as competitive as anybody, probably more than most. But ultimately, we're going to push you to be the best version of you. And sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Be the best version of you. And, you know, when we get on our folks, it's typically an effort issue. We talk about the things you can control with your attitude and your effort. You know, you're going to make mistakes. We get that. And we encourage mistakes when you're going 100 miles an hour. When you're going 100 miles an hour, it's all good. It really is. And, you know, and sometimes, like I said, we get competitive, and we coach them up, and that sometimes can be a little tough. And I've gone and talked to some kids before afterwards, and I got on them a little bit, you know, and explained, look, I got on you a little too much. but it's something because you know each kid and you know they really want to be good, and you know how good they can be, and you know how hard they've worked, and it's almost like you become the. I hate to say you look at them all as your kids, but you do, and I was that way with my boys. I was hard on my boys, way harder on my boys than I am on my daughter, and they always remind me of that. You know, they're like, "You're way different now with her." Yeah, because she's tougher than you were. I'm just kidding. Don't get mad. She is tough, but you know, you try to treat them all, you know, the way they need to be treated, because you can't treat them all the same. Because some of them can handle it a little bit more than others, and you know, and it's hard sometimes.
And some of them even need it.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of need you to, you know, kind of climb up their butt sometimes, because they may not realize that they're slacking or that kind of thing. And then once you get up their butt, they're like, oh crap, like, yeah, I have been. And
right. You're reminding them, hey, there's an expectation, there's a bar here.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've set the bar, you know, the last 4 years, we've gotten better each year. This year we ended up winning more games we have in the last 4 years. We went 19-9. Got to a district final and really played well. You know, we played a really good Granville team who beaten us twice during the regular season.
They've been good for a while now.
Yeah, they're a really good team, and but we knew that was our best shot to get to the district final game. Going the way the brackets worked out, they were the 1 seed, we were the 4, and ended up getting there. And you know, we're in it. We're up 2-1 in the 5th, and you know, just couldn't hold on. But I told them after the game, I couldn't be prouder. They went into that game expecting to win. You know, everything we talk about in that book, in my opinion, they did that day. They went in and competed at every pitch and every play and gave themselves a shot to win. Can't control the results all the time. But no, we were super proud of them. And we're getting that mindset and that mentality of expecting to be great, and we tell them that all the time. Expect to be great. You've worked really, really hard, so don't go out there and put anybody on a pedestal. You know, you respect everybody, but don't fear anybody, and go out and make them deal with you. You worked really, really hard. Make them deal with you. You know, it's
if you don't come out expecting to be great, you're almost setting yourself down a notch right from the jump, because you are already, then that self-doubt starts to creep in. Self-doubt is a huge thing in life and in sports, where if you let that self-doubt creep in too much, it can take over and it'll drag you down, and you don't want to go down that path. Yes, like you said, respect all but fear nobody. Like, that was the biggest thing. I mean, I'd be walking onto a football field looking at the team, and I'm like, they are a lot bigger than us, but I'm like, you know what, but I'm a lot faster than a lot of those guys, so we'll go with that. Like, you just kind of you play to your strengths, essentially.
And we talk a lot about body language, focus, and self-talk, and you can see when somebody's body language starts, you can see them talking to themselves. And you know, we tell them all the time, you know, talk to yourself like you would your best friend. Would you say that about your best friend, that you can't hit right now or you can't make this happen? You wouldn't. So why are you saying it to yourself? You know, we got to be confident. Confidence not a feeling either. Brian Kane talks about this. Confidence is an action. Walk on the field confident. You may be nervous as can be. Don't show it, you know, because they are too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody
They
is.
are too. So go out there and act confident, and then good things start happening, and then that confidence grows and grows and grows. And you know, always treat yourself right. Be good. You know, we tell you to be kind to everybody else. Be kind to yourself. If you make a mistake, so what? We do a drill. Actually, we did it with Steve's daughter the other night, and you know, my daughter was out there, and Tori Boffman, another player on our team, and the 2 little ones, and I would just hit ground balls as fast as I could at them, and they had no time to worry about making a mistake. And I think a light bulb went off in the little ones' heads, and it's like, it's okay to make a mistake. You just got to get back in and make the next one.
Yep.
You know, it's and that's what that drill is for. It's okay to make that mistake, but don't walk after it.
Yep.
You know, go get it.
No, that was one of the things that always drove me nuts, is when like people would walk them with their head down, and I'm like, no, like, anytime I ever got beat, I got up and acted like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in my head, I'm also sitting there going, I got to fix that.
Yeah.
That can't happen again. But it's like, if you get up, then the other team's just kind of like, oh, crap. Like,
and the exact opposite happens when you don't get up.
Yeah.
And if they see you getting down, then they're attacking.
Yep.
Then you're vulnerable there. And
especially in football, like if defensive coordinators, especially coming from the world I'm in, where if you beat a corner deep and maybe you didn't score, but if he's dragging his head, he's got his head down, that defensive or that offensive coordinator's going right at, again, same play, right at him. Because guess what? It's in your head now. You can't get in your head. You have to just that football is a big thing, and I don't know if it's similar in softball and that kind of stuff, but one play, next play mentality of that play happened, but it's in the past. You can't change it now. Next play. Let's do better on this next play.
Yeah, we say it all the time. Next pitch. So what? Next pitch.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Focus on this next one. You could look really bad on that changeup. You missed it by a foot and a half. So what? Next pitch. So it's the same.
Well, Chad, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Where can people find your book, and where can people find Mindset Matters and everything like that? So if they want to reach out to you. Yeah,
so we have a website, mindsetmattersathletics.com. There's a spot on there you can send us an email with any questions, or if you want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. And, as far as Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Mindset Matters Athletics, and it's a little plus sign afterwards. Dan runs that and puts a lot of good content on there. We have an Instagram page, and it's Mindset. Let me see here real quick. I'll get it for you. We're just starting it, so I'm going to have to ask you to help me with it.
That's fine. I do too much social media anymore.
The Instagram is Coach Dennis MMA.
Okay.
And then an X or Twitter is MMA, which is MMAthletics_1.
Okay.
So reach out to us there.
Yep. I will put all those links in the episode description. A couple quick announcements before we get off here. I do have the volleyball tournament is official. It will be July 20th, Saturday, July 20th. Registration will open for that probably around June 20th, I believe, is when I will have the registration done for that. So you guys can sign up your 6-person teams. It is bigger and better than last year. But until next time, you guys know the deal. Life is hard, and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out.